Welcome to the English with Kirsty podcast from www.englishwithkirsty.com. Here I'll be sharing with you tips, information and other learning resources so that you can improve your business English. Welcome back to the English with Kirsty podcast, and I have another special guest here today. It's really good to see you. Maybe you could start by just telling the listeners something about you and your role and your interest in languages.
Sure. First of all, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me on your podcast. And my name is Leda. I'm an English to Romanian translator, and most of the work I do relates to the public sector and to charity organizations with a special focus on mental health and child protection.
Okay, so I guess your interest in language started a long time ago. How did it all start for you? Why English? Why translation?
Well, I remember when I was in kindergarten, my mom came to pick me up, and she said, "We got cable, and now I have Cartoon Network, and I can watch cartoons."
Okay.
And I got home, and it was in English, and it wasn't dubbed or subbed or anything, and I was like, "Okay, this is great, but I can't really understand anything they're saying."
Mm.
And my parents basically just told me to stick with it, and they're sure I'd understand eventually, which I did. It did really. So I learned English quite naturally by watching cartoons, and that's how my interest in the language got started.
It's interesting, isn't it? If you're motivated to do that, I'm kind of in a similar position in that I can't see subtitles. So if I want to understand something, I have to learn to understand it because I can't use that. So if I have content, for example, when I started learning Romanian, it was hard at the beginning, but now I can watch things that are meant for Romanian speakers because I've never been able to rely on the subtitles. So it's like, well, if you want to understand it, you have to learn, you have to listen, and you have to figure it out. And I think sometimes that makes you do that a bit faster than if it's made easier for you. So it can be harder at the beginning, but it actually can speed up the learning process if you do it that way, or if you have to do it that way, because I guess most people don't choose to do it that way. But yeah, it can be a good thing. So I noticed also from your LinkedIn profile that you have the book group. So you were interested in like visual content. Have you always been interested in books, or did that come later?
I know I've always been interested in books. My parents read to me a lot as a child, and we had a huge library. I mean, wall-to-wall bookcases in my childhood home.
Oh, nice.
And my parents always nurtured that interest. They basically let me read whatever appealed to me in my home. So I read a lot of weird things for a fifth grader, like Shakespeare, or basically whatever struck my fancy in our library. And that's how I became really interested in reading. And once I moved away to college, I kept buying loads and loads of books for myself with every opportunity.
So what languages do you read in? So Romanian and English, or are there any others?
So I generally alternate between Romanian and English because I find it's good for keeping up my vocabulary in both languages that I work with. And I also listen to audiobooks in German, which is my third language, which I don't really use for work, but I try to keep up for just as a bit of a hobby, and because, well, now that I've learned it, might as well not unlearn it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and audiobooks can be really good as well for listening, for understanding a language. I know when I was a teenager, I had loads of audiobooks in German, and I spent hours reading them, and I'm sure that helped with my vocabulary. I think, reading is so closely linked to speaking as well. If you understand how other people use the language, you can also decide how you want to use it. You don't have to adopt everything, but you can get a better feeling for what sounds right. So I think it's really good to consume books in different ways like that as well.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, I started by when I decided that I needed to improve my German vocabulary, I started by watching TV shows that were dubbed in German, because then you also have that visual element there, and it's
Mm.
easier to make inferences than when you're just listening to the book. And I also read a couple of print books in German, which I found in like secondhand bookshops, or just random crime novels and stuff. Um, but yeah, I think audiobooks have been the best for my vocabulary. It was really hard getting into them at first because I didn't understand all that much. But
Mm.
over the years, I my comprehension has improved a lot, and now I can pretty much listen to anything.
Yeah, that helps. It's finding the right level for you. And often people say start with children's books, but that's not always the best way I've found, because sometimes, children's books have a lot of description, and sometimes what you really need is some real conversation, or like how do people actually speak, and not something that was written 200 years ago for children. And
What I tell everyone is they should start
yeah,
by listening to books they've already listened to, like some
yeah,
favorite books that you've been meaning to reread. Like I listened to the whole Harry Potter series when I was starting getting into German audiobooks, and that really helped.
because you know them, you know the characters, you know
Yeah,
what's going to happen,
exactly.
and you can focus on the language.
So yeah, so it was easier to follow because I already knew just like you said, I knew the characters, I knew the plot, and so yeah.
So what was the idea with the group then? I guess that's a group that anyone can join on LinkedIn who's interested in reading and discovering new types of books. Why? How did you get this idea, and what would you want to achieve with the group? How has it been for you so far?
Um, I think so. Well, last year, I saw, or actually the beginning of this year, I came up with this challenge for myself. Um, because I wanted to diversify my reading a little bit. So I
Mm.
came up with 30 reading prompts that I wanted to do by the end of the year. And I shared them with a few friends who thought they were cool and said they'd try it. And then I thought, hey, sure, I could share these on LinkedIn. I talk about reading all the time anyway. My monthly wrap ups always contain my favorite book of the month and stuff like that. And I knew a lot of my LinkedIn connections were really into reading as well. So I thought, sure, I'll share this on LinkedIn, and maybe someone else wants to play along with my reading challenge. And since a surprising number of people seem to be into it, I thought, sure, I'll just make a group, and it will be easier to share updates on it about what we're reading for the reading challenge. And so I started by doing that. And once I finished it a couple of months ago, I thought I'd just keep it up and share whatever books I'd read recently that I found really cool and I wanted to recommend to people, and hope that other members of the group would start doing the same thing.
And I think that's important. Like when I saw some of the prompts that you'd written, something that challenges us, because we can get stuck in a bit of a um I don't know, we like a certain type of thing, and we always read the same kind of things, and then we don't try anything new. But I like your idea that it was challenging us to read books from different perspectives, so that we can learn about others as much as learning new vocabulary, or just
Yeah, I
reading for
mean, there are
pleasure.
so many, sorry,
No, carry
sorry.
on.
There are so many groups that are underrepresented in literature, and I thought it would be cool to kind of hunt down some books that were written from the perspective of these kinds of characters, to just learn more about the world, yeah, from their perspective. I
Yeah,
think
it's
reading
important.
can be great for building empathy for characters that you don't know a lot about in real life.
Mm. Yeah, especially if they're from the perspective of those characters, not somebody writing about those characters. Um, so I think you said that you're also interested in children's books. Is that right? Translating?
Yeah,
Children's?
I translated a couple last year and I really enjoyed it. And yeah, it's something I'd love to do more often because yeah, they just let you play around with language a lot more than adult content does anyway.
Mm.
And yeah, I just appreciated the level of creativity that they require.
So that was English to Romanian?
Yeah, yeah.
And what kind of age group was that aimed at?
So I'd say somewhere around like 10-year-olds, so not really young, not really YA yet.
Okay, but it's gives you a bit more freedom to be creative and to say something that you think would appeal to the children of that age rather than something more technical. So
Yeah,
you have the chance to. Would you like to do more of that?
yeah. I'd love to do more of that. I think it's really fun and it also well speaks to my inner child as well. It does remind me of when I was reading children books for myself. And yeah, it's just that kind of return to childhood that you get when you read children's books. It, I also enjoy reading YA for the same reason. It feels like super relaxing because all of these characters' problems are problems that I don't have anymore.
Mm.
They're
You can
just like,
remember it, but it's not your problem anymore.
yeah, basically, it feels very nostalgic to me. It reminds me of when I was in like middle school or high school.
I think maybe something like that from a language perspective as well, for people who are perhaps improving their English, something like that would not be as challenging as some of the adult fiction as well. So if you like these kind of books, they can also be good for developing language skills because they're not going to be super challenging in terms of the language.
Yeah, and they have a lot of dialogue as well, so that helps you see how people talk. Same with detective novels, I find those are also not super linguistically challenging, but
Mm.
they've got a good flow and they'll make you want to read on and see what happens next.
Yeah, lots of characters, lots of character interactions. And that's also important, for people learning how do people actually talk, because you're not going to sit there and describe your garden in great detail unless somebody's interested in that, but or a scene, how something looks, but you are probably going to want to interact with other people and to know how people talk. I guess the main thing there is to make sure that you're looking at something current, unless you want to sound like somebody from the 19th century, then maybe you find it interesting, but just to be aware that language is a changing thing and that expressions do become dated, and just to be aware of when the book was written and how current the dialogues are.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So in terms of other things, how do you I guess you've focused a bit more recently on the type of content that you want to translate. um what made you make those choices? How did you become involved in the work that you're doing now? Why did you choose to specialize in that?
Well, I guess the work I'm doing now kind of happily found me, I guess, because a few years ago, the main agency that I was working with at the time started having a lot of these requests for social care and child protection documents and things like that. And then, kind of in association with this, a lot of translations about parenting or how to take care of young children, how to take care of your own mental health, and as a parent or things like that. And that really did align well with my own interests since I've been very interested in reading about mental health and well-being over the past like 10 years.
Okay.
So since I was well read in that regard, that really did um, it made sense as a specialism for me. And I kept pursuing that kind of work until I got more clients that that would send it to me.
Okay, so do you work mainly with agencies or with direct clients or both, or
I work mainly with agencies at the moment.
but they know that you have this particular interest and specialism and
Yeah, I try to promote it on my social media, and also that's what I highlight in my CV as well.
you're super active. I mean, you're one of the people that I think what I really like about your posts as well is that you're good at telling stories, and I really like written content. I know you post pictures too, but I really like the way that you get people talking on LinkedIn. I think that's a skill. Where do you get the inspiration for your posts from?
I think it's either conversations that I have with like my husband, or things that I notice while I'm working. Like I'll have to deal with some kind of issue, and then I'll resolve it and think, I'm sure other people have dealt with stuff like this. How have they dealt with it?
Mm.
Could I tell them? Could telling the story be useful for other people? Or like fun linguistic things that I find while I'm reading books. It's basically inspiration is all around you if you're just paying attention to it.
Yeah, you have to be open and to remember and to write the things down so that you
Yeah,
have the
I do have I have a Word document on my desktop where I just write down stuff. It's not a perfect system because I sometimes look over it and be like, what did I mean by
yeah.
this? But for the most part, it works.
And have you always been active on LinkedIn, or did that come more recently, or how did it?
No, I mean, I've always been active since I've had LinkedIn. As in, a couple of years ago, I decided I wanted to go after clients from abroad, not just from Romania. And I read a little bit about how one would go about this, and found that okay, LinkedIn seems to be the way to go if I want people to know that I exist.
Mm.
So I got it. I think it's got to be like a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. And I quickly decided that if anyone was going to know that I existed, I had to post and connect with other people from the industry. I also did find that I enjoyed reading other people's posts and exchanging ideas, because I don't think I really had that sense of community as a translator before LinkedIn. Um,
It's a nice group, the translators. I mean, I don't belong in that group, but I kind of because some of my closest contacts are kind of in that area. I started looking at the posts and commenting, and then people were very friendly, and now I think it's nice as somebody working with languages to be talking to as many translators and other people in maybe in different industries, but it's with a shared interest in language. And I think it's good to get different perspectives because some of the stuff is similar. You know, if you're a freelancer or a business owner, then some of the challenges are going to be the same anyway. But I found it to be a very friendly and welcoming community, particularly with the translators and some of the translator hashtags. So I think it's easy to start being more present and participating more because it's the kind of posts are welcoming to, you know, that people are welcoming, and the posts are something that other people can get involved with as well. So I found it to be a really nice community.
yeah, I think that really helped, especially in the beginning when I was really scared of posting. And I didn't really understand how LinkedIn worked either, so I didn't know like can I comment on people's posts if they're not connections of mine? Is that weird? Is that not weird?
Mm.
But I did kind of figure it out as I went, and I did start to post and connect with the people who reacted to my posts and commented on their posts, and yeah, a nice little community has formed. I've got a lot of people that I can even call friends and that I'd love to sometime meet in real life.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. I have to in not very much time. It was I guess I started being a bit more active from last year, but really from the summer, I was spending a lot more time there and made it my social media platform of choice. But yeah, you can develop some very deep friendships just by something that started with a connection on LinkedIn, and it's good to find people with whom you have things in common, and maybe work collaboration partners or people who will recommend you for jobs, or the other way around. If you can't do something, it's really nice to have other people that you can pass stuff on to or recommend them if it's not the kind of thing that you're willing or able to do. Then
Yeah.
it's much nicer to say no, but I have a friend who could, than just no, sorry, I can't do that. It's always good to
Yeah,
have
it's
that.
also cool to meet people who like go through the same things as you and who you're able to like ask for advice or just share a little rant with when things
Yeah,
aren't really going your way.
do some co-working, or
Yeah, yeah,
share a
exactly.
problem, or celebrate the good things. Because if you're working on your own, then sometimes there's nobody to celebrate with. But it's nice if there are other people who get it, who understand how it feels.
Especially since most of us work from home alone. So yeah, it's nice to foster that feeling of community.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's a good. I mean, I guess you see some stupid comments, but I haven't seen as many as I've seen on some other platforms. Maybe I just hang around with nicer people, but I found it to be quite a positive place as well, which is good.
Yeah, I really appreciate that about LinkedIn. I think I haven't really had much problem with trolls or things like that. I'm
Mm.
sure there are corners of LinkedIn where they're lurking, but thankfully not too much in the translation community.
Yeah. But speaking about working from home, I know this is nothing to do with anything we've discussed so far, but I have to ask. You have a golden retriever,
Yeah, yeah, I do have a golden retriever. He's
and
5.
so what's the story with him? Did you have him from a puppy, or did you?
Yeah, my husband and I got him when he was a puppy. We spent like 6 months trying to decide what breed dog we should get because we wanted one that was um good for our lifestyle, I guess. I mean, not too we knew we'd want to have children at some point, so we wanted a dog that would be good with children when the time came. We wanted him to be fairly active, but not too active, and not super loud because we live in an apartment building and stuff like that. And yes, after all was said and done, we decided that a golden retriever was the way to go. And yeah, we haven't regretted it once because Puck is really an awesome dog.
Yeah, I love them. I used to have one, and I guess yeah, there's still a picture of her on my website. She's not here anymore, but I didn't want to remove the picture so that she's still up there. But I think they're amazing companions and super intelligent and friendly, and yeah, I'm always happy. I always pay attention. I don't know. Can't remember, you posted something about him on LinkedIn. I was like, oh, a golden retriever. I have to find out more. But yeah, they are wonderful dogs. And I guess it's nice for you to have some company too when you're working from
Yeah,
home. Then
yeah, that is nice. And when you're having a bad day, you can just go play around with the dog for 5 minutes. That
yeah,
will
they
definitely cheer
cheer
you
you
up.
up. And go outside as well, because when you have a dog, like they need to go outside. So it's also for your own well-being, I think, to spend some time outside, to get some fresh air, have a walk.
Yeah, I think having to walk Puck twice a day has really been great for both my mental and my physical health.
Mm, definitely. I don't have a dog at the moment. I try to do that, but yeah, when you have a dog and they're looking at you like, isn't it time to go out yet? Then yeah, it definitely motivates you to do that.
Yeah, I mean it's I was fairly active before I had a dog, but mostly when it was nice outside. But having a dog really just makes you have to go out 365 days a year,
Yeah, there's no
rain or
choice.
shine, just like the postman.
Yeah, and they are so happy as well. I mean, I guess there are dogs that don't like going for a walk, but the ones that I've had always eager to get out there and
Yeah, definitely.
have an adventure. So I guess from what you've been saying, LinkedIn is the main place to contact with you. And I'm going to make a page with our interview on, and I'm going to put some information about you and your LinkedIn link. Are there any other places where you spend time, or is LinkedIn the main one?
Oh, I'd say LinkedIn is the main one. I mean, I have Facebook, but I don't really use it all that much. And yeah, two social media platforms is enough for me.
Yeah. Quality, not quantity. Sometimes, like it's good to have a couple, but really it's the quality of interactions that you get, and it's better to do a couple of things well, I guess, than one or two things well than a whole bunch of things half-heartedly. So I've kind of streamlined a lot of my social media activity as well, because I'd rather be kind of known in one place than just present but not really present in a number of them.
Yeah, I think I'd get overwhelmed really fast if I tried to keep up activity on Instagram and LinkedIn and Twitter and whatever else there might be at the moment.
There's always a new one.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, well, thank you for your time today. Thank you for sharing. And I'm going to add your links and maybe the reading group link as well, in case some of the listeners want to read some new books or improve their English as well. And yeah, thank you for sharing with us, and thanks for being on the podcast, and have a great day.
Oh, thanks, Kirsty. It was really a pleasure to be here, and it really just felt like a nice conversation and catching up. So it was great.
That's
Thank
what
you.
I like. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the English with Kirsty podcast. If you have any questions or comments, my email address is kirsty@englishwithkirsty.com, or you can go to www.englishwithkirsty.com/podcast, where you'll find information about the individual episodes.